you've been going through a divorce after 23 years, dealing with infidelity with your ex-best friend, and you're kind of all over the place with your emotions. And you want to put it behind you, but it's just been a challenge. So I want to explore some of the stuff that you wrote and just break it down a little bit, and share what I'm seeing. So you wrote how not knowing the man you've been with and loved for 24 years is actually kind of scary. And I'm hearing the fear in there, naturally, with that saying that it's kind of scary. And I can understand that because I had similar thoughts actually myself after my last relationship ended. And it didn't help me having that mindset, having that mentality. So I'd like to invite a reframe for you. It's not that you didn't know them, as there's a danger there of invalidating all of your experiences, and we don't want to do that. The idea of invalidating all the experiences you had, it can be destabilizing, and that's not something we're trying to do. And also there's the possibility of starting to doubt yourself in your judgment, and that's also not something we want to do. And I've been there. I can say that's not a good road to go down. So what I'd like to do is offer you a reframe that you knew them. It's just that now you've seen a different aspect of them, one that they'd not made well known until now. So in saying that, it doesn't invalidate you, your judgment, or your experiences you had with this person. It's just now they've shown an aspect of their personality that you're not okay with and has impacted you in a way that you're not enjoying or haven't enjoyed, or is something that you're not willing to tolerate. So one, celebrating you in knowing that, and two, the reframe. The reframe there is going to be really helpful, I hope, for you, because in appreciating that it's not that you didn't know them, it's just that now you've seen an aspect of their personality that they hadn't made known before. And this is understandable. People clearly don't like to show their bad side and do whatever they can to hide that sometimes. And that's not a reflection of you. You even said that you knew something was up with regard to that ex-friend of yours. So there is an intuition, a judgment piece there that you can recognize as a good thing. So I would be mindful of not considering it as a scary thing, but merely an illumination that you know something more about this person that you didn't know before because of whatever reason they were not forthcoming with it. And now you've recognized it, now you've seen it, and now you can make a choice, as you have done, from an empowered position. And that is a good thing. That gets to the later steps, but I'll get to that. Another thing you've written is that your emotions are all over the place. To me, this says that you're struggling possibly to deal with those emotions in a healthy, constructive way. And that's understandable. You go on to list what they are. We'll get to that. But in learning to deal with those emotions, that's going to create the stability for progressing and moving forwards. If your emotions are all over the place, then dealing with them in a healthy way will get them under control, will help you feel more empowered to move forwards effectively and quickly. And that's what we want, right? I can speak from personal experience where I suffered from grief and depression for over a year after my last breakup because I wasn't able to deal with my emotions properly. And I don't want that for you, and hopefully you don't want that for you either. What I find is a lot of people will tolerate their pain and their suffering for weeks and months, years, because a part of them wants to, doesn't know how to deal with those emotions because it's not something that we're taught, right? But in learning how to deal with those emotions in a healthy, effective way, that can create the space, because that emotions are energy. And if the emotions aren't dealt with, they can become stored in the body. And over a long period of time, that can create dis-ease. Finding the tools to release that energy from the body means that you can create the space for, one, a sense of calm, but two, to be able to work through the later steps. And we'll get to that. You've also written that you go to therapy, and I want to celebrate that. That's a great thing. It's amazing that you're getting support. And I'm going to speak into that a little bit. And this isn't coming from a place of wanting to knock or criticize your therapist in particular, just something that I've recognized of therapy in general, is that a lot of therapy, a lot of therapists can sometimes over focus on the symptom stories rather than actually dealing with the problem. I have an analogy for this. So if you had a car and you had the check engine light come on and you took it to a mechanic, you wouldn't want the mechanic to check the light, you'd want them to check the engine, right? And your pain is your symptom. It's not actually the underlying issue. It's not actually the problem. It's not the engine. It's the light. The pain points to what the issue is, but it doesn't actually say what it is. It's like if you had a pain in your leg, you'd want the pain dealt with, yes, but you'd also want the cause of the pain to be dealt with, which might be a broken ankle, might be a broken leg. Getting it diagnosed is key to actually moving on. And I feel this is missing with a lot of therapy and a lot of therapists, is that they focus on the symptoms, the pain, rather than what's causing the pain, the underlying issue. For me, this is step 2. I express this in the guidebook. It's the underlying story. This is what's preventing you from moving forwards, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Another thing you've written is that he is just making it worse. And yeah, that can totally happen. People tend to act from a place of hurt, especially when they're losing something in their lives, something that at some level was precious to them. And they cause pain and hurt in return. And that's not an easy thing to deal with. I can also speak from experience with regards to that. The thing I will say is, this is an easy thing to do, but to recognize that everyone is doing the best with what they can. And this isn't a way to justify his actions, but to explain them. That people act in the way that they're conditioned or programmed to at some level. And if he's creating pain for you, then it might sound strange, but having sympathy for that, I know it doesn't sound like something you want to do, but for me, what helped in recognizing that was that if they could do better, they would do better. And the fact that they aren't speaks volumes. So it's perhaps something to hold on to there. And last thing I want to say is, you've listed the bunch of emotions: devastation, mad, sad, lonely, scared. Great. I love that you're labeling them. This is a fantastic step into actually embracing the emotions. I know it sounds strange. Maybe you've seen this in the guidebook. It's not just about labeling them, it's about embracing them, actually experiencing those emotions, but in a healthy, constructive way, so that they can be expressed and leave the body, because that then creates the space for step 2, which is the underlying story. I touched on it a little bit, but what I'm seeing here is that you want to put it behind you, but it's been a huge challenge for you. Now, I don't know what your underlying story is, what your problem story is. Really getting to have a conversation with you would be the best way to establish that. But once that's understood by you, with your therapist, any other means, I talk about journaling, can be possible, but it's a little bit tricky. In understanding that, that creates the space to be able to move on, to be able to put it behind you quickly, because there's something holding you in the situation. It's going to be related to the emotions. Emotions and thoughts are linked. But in understanding what that underlying story is, being able to deal with the emotions in a healthy way, it creates the space to then move forwards, to put it behind you and move on to the later steps, the aspiring identity, what it is you want going forwards. Just a couple of things there. I'd love to talk more, but 10 minutes, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that was helpful for you, and you're strong and you've got this. So good luck and stay strong, and maybe speak to you soon.